never too sure when I'm actually live. Let me see. Yeah, we should be live now. You just pop this onto Twitter thing, X, whatever it's called now. Doesn't really matter because we don't really use it. And we'll pop it into LinkedIn as well, that I actually do use. Give me a sec. That's just in case someone wants to join in. More than welcome. And I do monitor the chat just in case you have any questions. And let's get to it. Just close some windows that we don't need. So working on this web application. So originally, so we start from scratch. From this description, over here, it's a folder structure. There's a quick overview. So essentially, in simple terms, we are loading an image, selecting wavelet type, the number of bits, number of levels, hit compress, and we get the compressed image. Also importantly, we get an output of a PSNR, which tells you how well the reconstructed image matches the original one. So in this case, this PSNR should be fairly low value, and the 28 is pretty low. It should be around 50 or so, so we get to good values. So this is still under development. We don't get any errors anymore. GPT was able to sort them for us. So there's a couple more things. We want the compressed image to appear when the page is loaded using the default settings. So let's start with that.
To display the compressed image when the page is loaded using default settings, you can call the compress image function immediately after populating the image list and setting the default settings. You can do this in your JavaScript file right after calling populate image list. Here's a modified version of your existing JavaScript code. In this example, populate image list is called first. Once the image list is populated and default settings are applied, compress image is called to compress the first image using those default settings. By using then, we ensure that compress image will only run after populate image list has completed its asynchronous operations. This will automatically compress and display the first image when the page is loaded, using the default settings for wavelet type, levels, and bits.
Right, so what have changed? It's only that last bit at the end, is it? Or not? So we have populate the image list. Get a response, fetching, get image file, that's the same. We're waiting response with the JSON file. We have, after populating the list, setting default. So still in the populate the image list function. Can we just do a format document, control save? Right, that's better. It's now aligned. I think we're doing this at the end here. This remains the same, compress the image, and at the end there, where is, don't get it. So sync function remains the same. This one here is changed to that. I can get rid of that. And let's try it out. It's only loading half of it. Okay. Sometimes it's loading only half. That's all correct. Yeah, we don't have a favicon as that bit at the top. Right, so it's working okay. I don't know why sometimes it only loads it partially. That's a bit weird, but I think we can leave with that for now. There's some other. So other thing is when, what's this called? Image select. When image select value is changed, the original image is not changing. So just do things one by one.
If you want the original image to change when a new image is selected from the dropdown, you can add an onChange event listener to the less than select greater than element for images. This event listener can update the source of the original image based on the selected value. Here's how to add it in your HTML. And in your JavaScript, you can add the update original image function. This function fetches the currently selected image file name from the dropdown, image select, and then updates the src attribute of the img element that displays the original image. Now, whenever you change the selected image from the dropdown, the onChange event will trigger update original image, which will update the original image displayed on the page.
I can swear I already had that functionality. I don't know where it went away. So we have an image select onChange. Okay, new JavaScript, update original image function. Don't have this function, do we? No, we do not. It should be somewhere in the beginning. Populate, yeah, after populating image list, just format document quickly. Yeah, about here. And let's check it out. Right, so it is working. It was a quick fix. So we have this bunch of different images. By the way, I have no idea why the compressed ones are in here. We also want the once we change something here. This is actually, it seemed to work because the PSNR is changing. We're adding more levels, there's not much difference. That's some warning. Okay, what's up? Boundary effects. Boundary effects. Level 8. And what the level 10 is too high. So what should be? Right, that's working. It's not actually updating. Hello. It's not actually updating the image. I have to, so we now have this image updated. That's correct. Ooh. Yeah, that's one of the compressed images that were generated. I don't know why it's being added to the same dropdown. It's a bit weird. So essentially when you do this, next time you open it, there would be, yeah, that's obviously wrong. So we have to fix quite a few things. So first, this is number of bits, and we said it should go from 1 to 60. It's working okay, except, yeah, the PSNR is changing, but this image isn't. And you would also expect the PSNR to change more drastically. So essentially for the number of bits to have way more effect. So what's up with that? Yeah, the PSNR only changing by like decimal points, which is a bit odd. I have to test everything again. We don't have any errors. Can remove that. Okay, let's see. Press image. How do we make sure the compressed image is updated when the button is pressed? Ideally, we also want the images and PSNR to be updated when any values are changing.
To update the compressed image in PSNR whenever any values are changed, you can add event listeners to all input elements, including the compress button. These event listeners can call compress image to recompute the compressed image and PSNR value based on the updated settings. Here's how you can modify the JavaScript code.
Do we have to have the compress button?
Here's what this setup does. The compress image function not only updates the PSNR but also updates the compressed image based on the returned data. The handle input change function is called whenever any of the input values change or the compress button is clicked. This function calls both update original image and compress image to update the original image, compressed image, and PSNR. Event listeners are added to all relevant input elements to call handle input change when their values change. This
Don't
way,
think
any change in the input values or a click on the compress button will automatically update the original image, compressed image, and PSNR.
okay, why do we need to update the original image? I'm pretty sure we already had this event listeners. This will be in a JavaScript. No, we don't have an event listeners. I can swear we had them before, but let's see. Compress image. Yes, we have image wavelet levels, bits. We have response post request called compress. So that's working okay. It's returning JSON with the these parameters. Now we have data await response from JSON, PSNR, displaying PSNR. That's correct. It's a bit odd. Const data document get element by ID. URL. Compressed image URL. Get element by ID. What? Why are we doing it not the same as this? Don't really need to update the original image. And all this event listeners. That's for sure. Let's pop script.js. We only have one JSON script, so it should be clear which file is this. Just check it for me.
Your JavaScript code looks well structured for the tasks you want to achieve. It includes populating the dropdown with image file names fetched from the server, setting default values for the wavelet type, levels, and bits, compressing the image based on the selected parameters, updating the original and compressed images as well as the PSNR when any input changes. Here's a quick summary of what each part does. Populate image list, fetches image file names, populates the dropdown, and sets default values for other inputs. It also compresses the first image with default settings once the list is populated. Update original image, updates the original image based on the selected value in the dropdown.
Yeah, there's a problem with that handle input change. So we need this function as well. That original. There are errors. $75. compress button. Let's call something else. What's the button called? Okay. What is the button called? Compress image. Should it have a name? It should have a name. Control Shift C. Just called button. It's not called compress button, is it? It's just called button. $48. $75. Handle input change. Event listener click. Click. Let's go on click. Camera confused with these names. Like a zillion of them. Compress image. The button. No, that should be fine. That's the event. Then oh yeah, it's kind of stuff. Missing something. We have this error. Please fix this for us. It's mostly dealing with these little things. Hopefully we get better then.
The error uncaught error cannot read properties of null. Reading add event listener indicates that one of the elements you're trying to attach an event listener to is not found in the DOM. This could be because the JavaScript code is running before the HTML is fully loaded, or the IDE. Ensure that the script is loaded at the end. Make sure your less than script greater than tag is right before the closing less than body greater than tag, so that it runs after the HTML is fully loaded.
Right, so in JavaScript, you can wrap it. Do you have to? Do I have to wrap it in event listener?
Ensure that the script is loaded at the end. Make sure your less than script greater than tag is right before the closing less than body greater than tag, so that it runs after the HTML is fully loaded.
That's in HT. Oh. Do we need to ensure that the script is loaded at the 22 do this at the end format document. Don't think that what the problem is. Something with IDs, I suspect.
Check IDs. Double check that the IDs used in get element by ID match the IDs in your HTML elements. This ensures that your JavaScript code will only run after the HTML is fully loaded, which should resolve the error.
So is this going over? So this should say we have clicked the compress button. Right, sounds like we need to wrap the code in an event listener. Just oops. Let's just do right. So we wrap the whole thing. Still not 76. Yeah, I knew that wasn't still. There's a problem. Still problem in that line. The other thing is, if we can get rid of that line, right, we can. And if we change, right, so this working compress button would not work, but we can remove it, can we? Right, so this actually working okay. It's the current level. Can we remove the button? Remove the button. Press button. Yeah, the name of that button is wrong, because it's actually called ID. What's the ID of the button? Control Shift C. No, sorry, Control Shift C. So it's called just button. Oh, its name is compress. Compress. No. What's this button? Well, first the name is incorrect, but also potentially you just want to get rid of it. Press button. It's called on click. No, click compress image. Anyway, we wanna yep, just get rid of it for good. Don't really need it. Don't need that. Right, so this updates levels. So I make sure static images. So for every image that we generated, the compressed stuff should go into another folder. So where would that be? Save the compressed image. Right, this folder. The compressed images are saved into the same folder as the original images. Can we change that? So that I'm right. Compressed image path, this path, compressed image. Now the question is, let's call it compressed images. Let's see if it works first. Let's see if we have the folder. And no, we don't. Get an error. X68. Let's see. So first of all, need a folder called compressed images. Right, so we move them across. Folders, yeah. So why is it not taking the image? So we now have that changed. And network. Press. Why? So obviously can't find that file. Should we just revert back? So why is it still searching for this file? Yeah, let's revert back. It was working okay. Yeah, I have to remove that folder. Just delete. Right, so that's back to where we were. Getting errors. The type of that variable. It's working okay up to this point. I can swear that the image is not changing. This number of bits, so that definitely should be making a difference. Don't know why it isn't. The PSNR is changing. Just get yeah, I'll have to do more testing. See you in a bit.